I'm John Doonan, Director of Motorsports for Mazda. We're going to take you on a journey today on the cars that we've been able to bring to the 2017 Rolex Motorsports Reunion here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. First car we have is 1986 Mazda 757 Group C car. This car was the earliest of the C2 class prototypes that Mazda campaigned in our 17-year journey to win Le Mans. The car was developed by Nigel Stroud exclusively for our Mazda Speed division in Japan, and ultimately is now owned by Eddie Trevari from Switzerland. He's been a Mazda family member as a dealer since the late 60s. The car features a 3-rotor power plant and ran in the IMSA GTP category at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This was certainly one of the predecessors to the 767 and then ultimately the 787 that brought us victory at the 24-Hour Classic in 1991. Jim Downing, one of the authors of much of our motorsports history, had won in RX2s, RX3s, and RX7s. But the factory-backed driver soon found himself looking for something faster and entered the Camel Lights division and the JM19 you see here today. The JM19 was also a C2 class prototype. It's a 2-rotor power plant. The car won championships in 85, 86, 87 in IMSA, and now is owned by the Spencer family out of Atlanta. The late Dennis Spencer, also a key part of our Mazda Motorsports history, driven by his son Scott Spencer, the Argo JM19. Next up, the 4-time in a row RX-7 GTU winner at the Rolex 24, driven by Amos Johnson and Dennis Shaw in its day, the Team Highball RX-7. 1985 RX-7 GTU car, also a 2-rotor. The car, again, was the only 4-time in a row winner at Daytona, ultimately won a 5th time, also won the 12 Hours of Sebring. Amos Johnson, the founder of Team Highball, has joined us this weekend. The car is now owned by Ralph Thomas out of Amelia Island, Florida. We believe this car has turned more laps in the Rolex 24 than any other car in the history of that event. But the RX-7 Team Highball entry, again driven by Dennis and Amos, built from scratch, was the first tube chassis GTU car ever to appear in IMSA competition. Next up, and the first of the Mazda-owned cars in our collection, the 1989 Mazda MX-6 IMSA GTU car. This is the first transaxle GTU car. Mazda was running the RX-7s quite successfully in IMSA competition, and at the launch of the MX-6 road car, we were allowed to run the MX-6 body on an RX-7 chassis. This is also a 2-rotor. This car was driven by John Finger, currently a Mazda dealer in South Carolina, a longtime member of the Mazda Motorsports family, and also Lance Stewart. The cars were built by Roger Mandeville and his team originally, and in 1990 the car won 5 races at the hands of Lance Stewart and was the GTU champion, as well as giving Mazda, again, another manufacturer's championship in GTU. Next up, the fire-breathing Draga. The RX-7 GTO car, powered by the 4-rotor. This car gave Mazda its 100th IMSA championship win. Pete Halsmer and Price Cobb were the primary factory drivers, but names you hear on TV today like Calvin Fish, Elliott Forbes Robinson, all had a hand in competing in the RX-7 GTO car. This car competed head-to-head with the best that Ford and Mercury could bring, the Mustangs, the Cougars. 1991, Pete Halsmer dominated with this car, bringing up Mazda the manufacturer's title as well as the driver's championship, and in San Antonio, Texas that season brought Mazda its 100th IMSA win, and the RX-7 a staple in our program. Mazda owns both chassis, but we've been campaigning this one for many years here at the Rolex event. Jeremy Barnes, one of our employees, has been driving it, but now Joel Miller, one of Mazda's factory drivers, along with Tom Long in the GTU MX-6, as well as Jonathan Barbarito, have been competing with us this weekend. And finally, the iconic charge or renowned paint colors are donned on the Mazda 767B. The 1989 767B we have here was brought to North America from our headquarters in Japan. It also was in the Group C category at Le Mans. The car features the 4-rotor. This is chassis number 002. It runs a similar 4-rotor that RX-7 GTO car campaigns, not yet to the level of the 787B that has the R26B, but this particular chassis was raced by an all-Japanese driver lineup of Takashi Yurino, Tetsuya Oda, Jiro Terada rather, Terada-san, but occasionally it was driven by Pierre Dieudonné and David Kennedy, as well as Elliott Forbes Robinson. So again, a bunch of privately owned Mazdas, but also 3 from the Mazda Heritage Collection. And as we always say, we've never stopped challenging at Mazda, and it's our hope to celebrate this past as well as write the new chapter in Mazda's motorsports and road car history. That's all for now.